people that have entered the country illegally. 72 hours later, they're making demands in Denver, Colorado for better, we demand this. When they're put up in 5-star hotels in New York and given debit cards, yet we have homeless and hungry veterans and U.S. citizens here. Yeah. That's a problem. That, charity starts at home.
The degradation of our veterans, it could not get more devilish than that.
Yeah, no, it's very tough, and it makes I am not a military veteran. I joined the Border Patrol right out of college, but Customs and Border Protection, the Border Patrol's parent agency, is one of the largest veteran employers in the federal government. So it's equally frustrating for the agents and officers to say, hey, we are catching and releasing these people that are getting benefits that yet they're themselves are having to wait in the VA for months at a time to get checkups.
Well, let's talk about the mental health resiliency of our law enforcement and the effect of, them working in an insane, upside down, make no sense, back assward day, everyday system.
Yeah, it's true, right? So, this administration was really one of the first ones that really kind of turned my stomach on especially the Border Patrol. I mean, we started this administration's election campaign was abolish ICE, which is a sister agency of ours, defund the police, all that kind of stuff. Yet we're the ones that are actually doing the best we can to make America safe, and we're going to be responding to your emergency calls. And when you see
first responders,
right, absolutely, right. And the Border Patrol in particular went from President Trump, who championed the Border Patrol, who gave us the resources and was, and I want to make this very clear, and we'll get to why I'm talking about mental health and resiliency here, is when Trump talked about building the wall when he was a candidate and he actually did it, those were requirements for Border Patrol. It wasn't just the wall. It was the lights, the technology, the sensors, the roads. This was years and decades of requirements.
To keep them alive and safe so they could do their job.
He made it happen, and this administration turned it all back on day one.
Well, they demonized all of it.
Right. September of 2021, the world saw on display what was considered this horse patrol incident in Del Rio, Texas, where they claimed that they were whipping the migrants, and President Biden said those agents will pay. Never before did I see in my world, could I imagine, the President of the United States was calling out a law enforcement and was demonizing them, saying they were going to pay, when he knew, or at least the people that report to him knew, that that was not the case. The photographer said there's no whips. Nobody got whipped. Those were split reins to how we control horses. I was 1,000 miles away in Yuma, Arizona, and I wanted to throw up. I could not believe.
They still say it.
Yeah, they still. They were using that incident to deflect from the 16,000 people that had crossed in 72 hours in Del Rio, Texas, that was causing complete chaos. This was an opportunity for them to demonize the Border Patrol and not talk about the problem that they created.
Well, it's all to back up their racism fundraising tools.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that goes back to the agents had to endure this every day. And I thought, wow. I have a
let's talk about agents who are, largely veterans.
Yeah. So a lot of them have gone to war. They've been in theater. They've seen the horrors of war. Some suffer from traumatic episodes, and they're dealing with that. And then you bring them to the border, and they've got a great agency that is championed by a commander-in-chief. And to have that all kind of turned away, we started seeing those problems. We actually, Border Patrol and its parent agency, Customs and Border Protection, had 22 suicides back in 2022. 14 of them were Border Patrol agents.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh my God!
And two of them, one of them worked directly for me. One of them had been detailed to my sector during the time. And I'm not going to say that the border crisis caused that, but
it did.
It could be a compounding factor.
It didn't help.
Well, if you don't feel that your value or you have a purpose anymore, like you're not doing this, and maybe they're suffering from financial or emotional or physical issues at home, but then they come to work and they feel like everything I'm doing is
well, a lot of people
right?
who took a vow to protect this country do it because they have a sense of purpose.
Right.
And when you remove their sense of purpose and demonize it, you destroy a soul.
Right. And again, the law enforcement, military, there's just that we don't talk about our problems. That culture, we had to change that. And so, you still have to roll up your sleeves and get busy, but it's okay to talk about the problems. And I think that's one of the things that, that has changed a little bit for the better, because right now we know, hey, we can't change policies under this administration, but
there are no policies.
Right. Well, there's certainly not ones that are helping us secure the border. So let's talk about and invest in our agents. And that's one of the things that I was doing as chief. And then what I've been doing since I've retired is, I working on a foundation, Sports Legends, supporting border heroes. So we get, people that have a platform. Like we've brought, dozens of former NFL players. Brian Urlacher, who's a Hall of Famer. Randy Grimes, who's an All-Pro. Dan Pastorini, Mike Barber, all these Houston Oilers, because we're in Texas right now, so we talk about the legacy Oilers, have come down the border to thank them. Yeah. Thank the agents. Hey, people love you, and we depend on you, and things are going to get better.
That
and yes, it reinforces. Because when I was chief, I wasn't feeling it either. And so I'd have to go up there and address the troops. I'm like, guys, we're all in this together. So let's invest in each other.
Well, I imagine the things they see, going deeply into the subject of, their PTSD and horror at seeing war and participating in it. And then they have to see what must be horrific things done to children.
Yeah. So when you see women, men, young boys, young girls, infants coming across the border that have been traumatized, that have been assaulted, that have been exploited along the journey, and when their most safest moment is when they're actually in our custody, and then to have that blasted by political advocates and everything, say, oh, Border Patrol is dehumanizing them, or they're bad people. They create the victim boogeyman, when the reality is the safest they've been in that journey is when they've been in the custody of the Border Patrol, because we're the one that's going to get them the medical attention, get them to the victim assistance programs, that get, maybe if we're lucky, get a hold of the bad guy and impose a consequence. But this narrative does not get told, and so goes back to the whole mental health. When you can only see and endure this so much, right?
Well, you can only take the bullshit world. That's why I started this podcast like that. Yeah. When you are a living soul who's connected to your maker, and you're living in a bullshit world where everything's just an upside down devilish lie, you might lose it if somebody doesn't remind you, as I was reminded when I needed it, that there's a lot of love out there from a lot of people who know.
Oh, you see